It is 7 o'clock on Thursday, July 13th. This is the regular city council meeting for the city of Alburnett here at City Hall. We will go ahead and call the meeting to order. Start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll please join me, we have our flag on the wall. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chris, I forgot to ask, is the camera on?
Yes.
We're ready for a roll call.
Council Strong? Present. Council Bosenberg? Present. Council Schatz?
Present.
Council West?
Here.
Council Myers?
Here.
All present, thank you.
All right, let the record reflect we do have a quorum to conduct business tonight. Any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes to the agenda.
I would seek a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Myers, second by Bosenberg. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We recognize our friend from the Sheriff's Office.
Good evening, Deputy Pease, the Lynn County Sheriff's Office. Looks like this report is between 6/8 and 7/13. Required hours were met with a total of 17 calls for service. Are there any questions that I could help answer regarding the report? Or anything that you'd like us to focus on?
Oh, I don't believe so.
All right.
Thank you for your
Thank
support.
you.
Stay safe. Item 6 is the mayor's report. I'm just going to recognize that this month is a month of gratitude for me, so I have a whole lot of thank yous to dish out. First and foremost, I want to thank Chris for, covering the June meeting. Neither Mayor Pro Tem or I could be here, so I appreciate you stepping in and taking care of that for us. I also want to welcome Dalton, who happens to be here tonight, and Liz. So we got them hired at the June meeting, and boy, did you two both hit the ground running. So it's exciting to see everything that's been happening in town. As such, Chris, thank you for having a solid onboarding plan and bringing them in and really getting them started on the right foot. So it's an exciting time, and Dalton, we appreciate everything you do every day. So. All right, and with that, I'd also like to thank Kenny Shoup. I know he's not here tonight, but he helped us get through spring drawdown, as well as we had a few things with some of the chlorine lines and things like that he's maybe not super familiar with, but he's been amazing guidance and a great resource for our team and for Dalton as well, bringing him on board, so we appreciate Kenny. I would like to thank the fire department and the Lions Club for the car show. It was another great success. It is one of my favorite events of the entire year, so I know it's a lot of work. So thank you both for putting that in, partnering, and making that event happen. And then finally, speaking of events, just a reminder that Benefit Day is Saturday, August 5th. They got a lot of great things planned, so you can find the schedule of events. The city has reposted that, so it's on our Facebook page. But if you reach out to any member of the Diamond Club, they'd be happy if you've got time, come out and help, or at least enjoy the festivities. So that is first Saturday in August. All right, with that, we'll move on to council reports. And I'll start with Councilor Myers.
Nothing to report.
Councilor West. Councilor Schatz. Councilor Bosenberg.
I would just welcome the board and Dalton and Liz, and so far, what I've seen, they've been doing a great job. Nothing to report.
Awesome. All right, that brings us to citizen comments. We have two types of comments in the city of Alburnett. We have those that are agenda related or non-agenda related. We do ask that you clearly state your name and address clearly for the record, and there will be a 5-minute limit for comments. So if there are any agenda related comments.
Is that where I fall?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I'm Gene Neighbor, and I'm representing the Alburnett Lions Club, and I'm here to speak in regard to the new digital sign that was placed in there by the Lions Club. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak, but I want to, first of all, each of you should have received the letter that I had addressed that gives you all the information in regard to the Lions Club and what the money they spent on it. It was over $16,000. And a previous conversation that I'd had with the mayor outside of the city council, she had indicated that the city had paid for all of it. Well, that is not a true statement. The Lions Club paid for $8,750 of that initially. We have the check to prove that we paid the sign company. The other half then we donated to this, gave to the city, so they could make the final payment to avoid the sales tax. But all the funds were raised by the Lions Club. All the funds came from community members. So we are, at a minimum, we have half interest in that sign, even though you claim you have it all, but you do not. So we're here to, on behalf of that, say we want at least an equal say on how that sign is being used. Okay. Any questions in regard to the letter that I gave each of you? Okay, thank you.
Any other comments on agenda-related items? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to non-agenda related items. All right. Item number 9, written reports. Start with the fire department. This is page, oh, I don't have page numbers. 6, I see it. Page 6 in your packet. TJ, are you representing the fire department?
I guess so. Let me see. There was a report you guys were given by Chris. The one published was for another month. I believe there was 16 calls. Yeah, 16 calls. One of them was training plus car show. So otherwise, we've been working on 131, getting that ready for service. There's a module, last I knew, that needs to be reinstalled for the lights. The way everything works, when the door opens, it shuts off that set of lights, so it doesn't blank it. One of the modules isn't working, so otherwise, hoping to have that in service very, very shortly.
Wonderful. Can't remember who it was, a big compliment from someone who saw it in one of the parades recently, so I said it looks really sharp. Any questions on the fire department report? DJ, I do know they were mentioning, they were discussing new medical bags.
Yes.
We didn't get quotes in time for tonight's meeting?
No. Didn't,
Okay.
that I was aware of, so.
Okay, I just wanna make sure we didn't miss it agenda-wise.
No,
so.
not that I'm aware of.
Alright. Any other questions for TJ? Alright, moving on to the city administration report.
Yeah, thank you. So, the one that I really am going to add to is the public works side of things. We did have a representative come out and actually check our well one, which has been the concern of the noise it's been making. Usually noise is a sign of bearings going loose or of some of that nature. Because we have one shut down, we were able to go and kind of pick around. The good news is it may be something Dalton and I can take a look at and fix. So we're going to try that approach based off of the recommendation. If that doesn't get rid of it, then we'll go further into it and have that company come out and do kind of just a maintenance on the well. But we are going to try that first and see if we can get to stop making that noise. So, yeah. Other than the clerk's report, there's no additions to report, treasurer report. The only thing is that I have gone ahead and got this CD ready to go, as we discussed, and yeah, everything else is doing real well.
Any word back from Des Moines on your tests?
Yes, they've reached out to me saying that I've paid the fees.
That's it?
That's
All right.
it.
They got your money.
So
That's
they
good.
got my money. Yeah, we're still looking at another possibly 3 weeks before I'm allowed to take the test. I'm ready to go, I just need to take them. I am going to take them, because this was a recommendation by multiple people, to take them one at a time instead of taking, wastewater treatment and wastewater distribution, even though those two are very similar. So I will go ahead and take that recommendation and take one at a time. There's no additional cost, it's just that only 100 questions instead of taking 400 questions at once. So, but I will keep you up to date once I get the results and the test done.
Any other questions for Chris? Okay. Hearing none, we move on to the consent agenda. Any additions, changes?
There are none.
So moved.
Moved by Shantz,
Second.
second by, was that Myers? All right, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries. New business, 15A, give a special event permit. This in your packet is page 22. Anyone here did they know they were supposed to be here to present their special event request?
Yeah, I mean,
You do have it in your packet. So we have a request from Mike Gibbons to host an event on Saturday, August 5th. This will be from noon to 11 p.m. He's asking to close the street between his establishment and City Hall. I believe there's a street band planned and a few other things. I do want to note, we generally request or require 30 days before an event that we receive these, so we don't have short notice. He did get it in for this meeting. I was hoping there'd be somebody here we could ask any questions to, but I do know that he will have some activities that are in support of Benefit Day. So he'll be running a raffle and a few other things to help support ACDC. That's part of his event as well. And I do know all the ACDC activities will be wrapped up by 2 p.m., so there's not a lot of overlap.
I got the full list if you would like me to, of the events that are taking place.
Sure.
Looks like the Alburnett School Wrestling will be putting on an Alburnett alumni tourney from 2 to 5. 5 p.m. local Luke Thomas will be playing outside live music until 7. 8 to 11, music still playing outside with some additional live music. And then it looks like they're doing a 50-50 auction. That's the Diamond Club is handling that. So 50/50
Well, Mike's doing
auction.
it, and the proceeds go to
Yeah.
the Diamond Club.
Yeah, he listed Jeremy Hanley will be handling that. So,
Any questions from council? Seek a motion to approve Givey's special event permit request for Saturday,
Can I ask you a
August.
question? Or not?
Not really?
Okay.
Seek a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Myers, second by Bosenberg. Any further discussion? I will say, he had this event planned well in advance of the 30 days. I brought it to one of the Diamond Club members' attention that we didn't have a special event request, so that's how it ended up on the agenda. So we'll make sure to follow up so that he knows we do like to have these with at least 30 days notice before the event. Alright. With that, I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Alright, DNR-led discussion with HR Green, and I believe we have a representative here with us.
Yes. Good evening, council. I'm Mike Liska, representing HR Green. What's on the agenda tonight is to approve, that is also in tandem with an annual renewal for GI services. So this particular part of the actual contract is to actually keep track of what you're going to have to actually report back to the EPA, ultimately through the DNR. So that DNR request, there's a spreadsheet form that you have to fill out. It's for all the lead service lines in town. So not only is it lead service lines, it's every dwelling within your community has to be spoken for. So you have to determine what type of service is coming in, both on the public side and also on the private side. So also inside the resident's house. So you have to know that full service line all the way back to the main. There are components of that DNR spreadsheet that you fill out that requires you also to kind of know what's upstream of that as well. And then on the private side, there are some information that the DNR is wanting to track on what is actually inside for plumbing wise beyond their meter. If they have a basement, what's beyond that for their own purposes, for the EPA to acknowledge that. So what we're proposing here is you guys already have GIS through us, and this is another way to track it and to keep on top of it. So the first thing is to do this inventory. So it can be done multiple different ways. And I've talked with Chris a little bit about this when we kind of trained him on actually how the GIS actually works. And pretty much what it amounts to is this is just another layer that gets added to your GIS, and we are going to pre-populate that with a lot of information, mainly based on dwelling year built. So a lot of that information you can actually pre-consume. So if it was built prior to 1988, you can kind of assume that there's a potential that there's a high risk of lead already being in that line, or that line could be lead. Between 1988 and don't have the years on, I think it's 2014, there is a potential that there could still be lead even after that lead ban, but there's a better possibility that there's no lead, but you still got to determine that. So there's different criteria, there's different levels that the DNR is pushing out for you to track all these things. There's roughly 14 different required fields that they're making you fill out. Again, what's going into the GIS is exportable directly into their spreadsheet, which then Chris would then submit to the DNR on the city's behalf for the public water supply. So that's a real high level example of exactly what we're offering here for you guys. I just open up for any questions that you guys might have.
I just want to be really clear, I think you covered this, but this is a DNR requirement.
It's an EPA requirement.
Okay.
It's
EPA
federal.
requirement, and it
Yes.
is a report that'll have to be produced in 2024.
It is due October 16th, 2024.
So we can either get ahead of it, or we can scramble to try to put it together at the last minute. What they're offering allows us to basically have it compiled and ready to go before we even get to that point.
I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah,
Benefits of the database over just maintaining the spreadsheet.
So the benefits of it, so this is going to be a living document. So the actual inventory that the EPA is requiring every public water supply across the nation to provide has to be completed by October 16, 2024. Different states are pushing that up. Illinois, they already had to have theirs in, but Iowa, it's still the October 16, 2024. With that, a community can come in and say everything is just unknown, we have no records of anything, right? That is acceptable, although everything that you consider as unknown is considered lead. And the EPA is going to come back and say you're going to have to replace all those lead lines with a given amount of time. You know, you have 6 months, you have 3 months to replace all those. And it's going to be a phase in. They have not come back on the actual timeline. That'll be their phase 2 approach. But the benefits of this is, since it's a living document, they're gonna require this to be keeping track of. Okay, if you had, say, 5% lead in your community, they're gonna want to make sure that, okay, are you now at 3% the next year? You're gonna have to keep this up to date, and it has to be. Larger communities have to actually make this available to the public. And so a lot of it's being done with like GIS. It's just a map that you add to your website so everybody can see what's left, how the city is progressing, moving forward. So it is a living document that will have to be continue to kept up. Yes?
Maybe I misunderstood, but a lot of these water lines were put in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying that we have to know what that water line is between the city water and our house.
Correct. Yep.
Good luck.
Yep. It is a that's why this been going on. The EPA started making note of this in 2018, I do believe. They didn't finalize their actual mandate until 2020, at the end of 2020, and really released in 2021. So it's been around for a little bit. There's a lot of communities still frantically trying to figure this out. We're working with some major metropolitans, and they're scrambling to find records. So the faster you can get on this, the better for you. Luckily, you're not such a large municipality that you're going to have to do a lot of digging. They're not asking and they're not making people go out there, dig up their water lines. You can put unknown if you don't have any documentation at all. That is acceptable, but just remember that anything as listed as unknown, you'll have to make progress in showing that you're making strides to figure out what that is. So.
Which could be an additional cost factor down the road if
Yep.
we don't document it now.
Do you guys contact the homeowners to get into the house, or does the city do that, or?
Yeah, so it's not part of this contract. This contract that's in front of you is specifically just to put the web application together for you. It ties right into your guys' current GIS. So Chris would have it on his computer, he would have it on his phone. So if you go out on a water main break or some sort of service, they could enter this information as they're on site. We make it available to you guys if you want to contract with a local plumber and say a local plumber's got to go fix something in somebody's house. You can make this available to them to enter some of this information. It allows you to take photos of the water meter so you can see what's before and after and document that within the house. But what we're offering is just for you to be able to track it and be able to make it so it's submittable right back into that spreadsheet. So it's a fast, easy export into that versus having to look through a spreadsheet and trying to track that down every year and keep that up to date.
And this puts it on the map as well, is that what you
Yes.
said?
Yep, this will be a mapping feature. You'll be able to see where you're at. You'll be able to know what percentage of your community is listing at what material. If you're, say that you do have lead, there's a filter on there. You click lead and it'll automatically update the map to show you where all those are, how many you have, and then you can start putting costs associated with that on the city side on what the city might have to pay for versus what a residence might have to pay for. And what I've been hearing is there's going to be some funding available through the federal government and also through the state government that once they kind of understand once all the reports are generated back to the DNR, they'll have a better handle on what type of money is going to need to be done for a lot of senior citizens that just can't afford an $8,000 replacement of a line when they might own all the way back to the water main, or to that curb stop. So it's going to be a learning curve for a lot of people. But there will be some funding available, but we're just not sure yet. We're trying to track that as best we can through the state and the feds.
And that is how our ordinance is written, they want everything to the curb stop.
And that is something that is actually on the list in that document that you report back to the DNR on. What's the policy, what's the actual city policy on that?
So what you have in front of you, it's starts on page 27, pages 27 and 28. So this is our renewal for our GIS licensing, which is where we contracted to find, is it the manholes?
Yeah, we started it with manholes, correct, yep. And then, it's not on tonight's agenda, but it's, I think, another one to help map out the curb stops and stuff like that.
We had a question regarding mapping that out.
Yeah.
That I thought you would be better to answer.
Yeah, I can definitely answer that too.
I'll hit that next.
Yeah, yep, but yeah, this is, part of that, it's just an annual renewal to keep those services up for you. Again, we don't charge for you to host your data, that is completely on us to host all your data, you're just paying for the maintenance to keep it up.
Perfect, so that's the 2,500 for the GIS system, updates and maintenance, supplemental services and support. I assume that's in case we need someone on site, it's just built in, so
Yep,
that's
it's just time, material, when and if you guys need anything.
Yep, so that's a not to exceed 1,000, and then task number 3, you'll see on page 28, that's the water service line inventory. That also says time and material not to exceed 2,500, so is that not a subscription, what's?
Nope, so what
Oh,
it
it's
is
just to get that portal set up?
it's just to get it set up, so I don't wanna say, hey, it's a lump sum, sunk cost, I want it, whatever it's gonna take us to get that up to you, that's what we're charging.
And then I assume you guys keep those up to date if going forward, those questionnaires change and now there's additional information we need to include.
Yeah, but it's all gonna be,
We don't have to know what that is, you're gonna tell us, right?
yeah, so it's all gonna be editable by Chris or anybody here, that will have access to it. So, say a new house goes up, another point's gonna have to be added to that list for that next report that will be due. We don't know when that will be, but whatever their time period is, as you guys figure out the information to fill out these questions, that'll be all editable by you guys, so you can keep that up to date. We'll be here for support if you guys need us to do anything, or to fast track anything for you. We're just physically not gonna be doing boots on the ground, digging anything up for you guys. But we can also help with the survey. A lot of communities have asked us to put an online survey together and to send out to all the community, for them to report back what they have in-house versus you guys relying on some records or, letting you guys into their residence. So we can support that, we can give you different options as well. It's just not built into this one right now.
Are they gonna allow the person to decide on their own and send it back to you?
They are. What we offer is a way of taking a picture, and then it's up to kind of the city to decide on did they fill it out correctly based on that photo. And there's several different ways of determining if you have a lead line. There's a scratch, there's a magnet test, there's different ways of identifying if you have a lead pipe or not. But we're allowing the EPA is allowing people to fill out their own. They're gonna have to, there's a verification source, part of that requirement. How did they verify that? And then if you verified it by, somebody that may not know as much, they might come back to that person and say, we need some more evidence of that you don't have this.
Don't we have a fair amount of that from the new meter change outs?
I don't think we documented service lines.
I thought the lines coming into the house, didn't we document those?
I know they take photos when they install the
We
creative
put in a
photos.
meter that had to document what was coming in. That
Well,
was,
maybe it was part of that.
I think it was. And that was part of the, to listen to guys, that was one of the big benefits of having somebody else put the meters in. They got in the house, they could document what was there.
That is right.
That would be great information if you guys had that document to get that, because that would be a saving grace. That would save you a lot of time.
Ferguson's did that.
Okay.
So really what we're talking here, the contract we have, we've already got the 2,500 for the GIS. It's whether we want the additional up to 2,500 for the web portal for the lead lines, or we fill out the spreadsheet manually.
Yep, that is correct.
This is gonna be a monster for us to administer, isn't it? What's your thought on that, Chris?
I thought on what?
Thought on that, reform.
I like that it ties back to the map, so if we do need just a visual of where do we need to follow up.
Yeah.
Anything that I can look at on the GIS that's on a map for historical documentation is way better than guessing. That's my thought. And based off what I've seen for having to fill out these lead reports, this is gonna be way easier when we get to that point than me having to manually upload something from an Excel file that we're trying to keep that doesn't talk to what they have online.
And this is, if we have this, it's gonna allow us to build on it in the future too.
As we
It's not,
get new development.
something that's, it's gonna be a program that's in place that we can build on. It's not gonna be something that, we forgot to do this.
Right.
I think we ought to go ahead and let them do the,
Yep.
pay the extra 2,500.
Well, and it's not to exceed 2,500.
Right.
I mean, is there any scope or estimate, idea of what a community of our size?
We just did one for the city of Walker. Connie Helms was, asked us to come in and add that. They already had GIS, through us. And she's like, we just need this as another layer. And it costs right at that $2,500, so.
Connie was the reason why I brought it up to you, because it was mentioned.
I could be money well spent.
I believe so.
I would seek a motion to approve the
Make a motion to approve it.
work order scope of services authorization with HR Green for the annual renewal of GIS services with the addition of the water service line LCRR inventory. Can you make that motion? Motion by Bozenberg,
I'll second.
second by West. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, well, I got you, Mike.
Yep.
It's Mike, right?
Yes.
All right, sorry.
Nope, you're good.
I'm gonna back up pages. Starting at page 24. We also have a scope of service, it's not on the agenda, so we won't take any action tonight, for water service valve mapping. So I do know we've had some properties in town, we've maybe had a hard time finding their shut off for the water service to the house. So this is something we were looking to also get on the GIS, just to make it super easy when Dalton's on site and having to do something, he can literally watch as he walks closer to these. I noticed in the quote, you guys will come out and place those within our GIS system, but we would have to pre-mark either with paint or a flag.
As much as possible. That just expedites it, so it's no guessing games out there on where things are at. If they're in the front or in the backyard, depending on where your water lines run. So that just expedites the process of having a knowledgeable person knowing where they're at, but we'll also have abilities to track them down where you may not know. So, yep.
Okay,
And how accurate are these locations gonna be?
Yeah, so these locations that we're offering in this scope of work would be centimeter grade, so survey grade. We'll have a guy out here on site, surveyor, to map these in. The data actually feeds directly into your GIS.
Dig here, right?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
Pretty much the end of an eraser is about the accuracy
Okay.
that you'll have. So that's how it's going to be mapped in. The ability that Dalton would have or Chris would have, they would have their phone or a tablet,
Yep.
some other device. Usually those accuracies could be 10 to 15 foot accuracy, but the location of where it was actually pinpointed
Yep.
is accurate. The other nice thing with it is we also take photos. So once you expose it, say it's buried 2 feet underneath the ground, 1 foot, whatever, we take a picture of it so you can kind of get a reference of where it is next to a house, a building, some sort of structure. So that way you can correlate, okay, I know I'm close, I'm not seeing it, okay, you can click on the map, click on it, and it will pull up the photo so you have a better idea of where it's at with measurements.
perfect. I'll send you an email, but this does say that they have to be visible, so maybe we just make sure the language
Yes.
is super clear on what we're getting.
Yep, so that is just, we don't know exactly how many you have based on accounts and stuff like that, so we're trying to make the most ones visible, but again, we'll come in and track down as many as we possibly can. We're not sure we'll get them all, it's just based on what we're trying to do the best we can, get as many as we can.
Perfect. So my next question, and this is just an understanding, do we have the ability to add these pins?
You
Like,
do.
Okay,
You have the ability to add them in, it just won't be like centimeter grade. It'll be just as good as, your phone. Or there is an ability on the map, so when they're out there with their mobile device, there's a aerial image, and they can zoom in on the aerial image and say, hey, here's the sidewalk, here's the edge of the road, I can see it. They can actually manually put a dot on the map, and that could be the location. It automatically puts a northern and eastern location to it.
because they'll pin it based on where they're physically, like if I'm standing on top of it, I can pin it.
Yes.
It's as good as what my phone triangulates.
Yep.
You'll actually grab coordinates and plug those in.
Yeah.
Is what I'm
Yep,
hearing.
it's all done in real time, so as soon as our guy comes out, maps it, either myself or one of my staff comes out and does that, it's instantly available to you guys right away. So if you're actually on the system, you can see those things populate as we're doing it, so that's the nice thing.
It's good to know the difference, because my thought was if we're already out flagging and or painting these,
Correct.
do we just drop it and then minimize? But
You have that ability, so that we can, if say Chris or, Dalton can't get out there in front of us, but they're like, hey, we saw this one, you guys could add it, and then we at least know that, okay, we gotta look for one in this area, you guys saw it, you could actually attach the photo, so our guys can go right there and just take the shot. So you guys do have that ability right now to do that, to get ahead of the curve.
This also helps us with locate simply because it cuts down the location time. If we already can look at the GIS and say, this is where the water line is, it's very easy to just knock it out and get out of there. So,
Alright. Any other questions for Michael who's here?
Yes, cost, projected.
Yeah, 89.50.
And if they find one, you're gonna go back and make sure it's there.
Yes, if they find it, well, if they track it down, absolutely, yep, we'll mark that. Yep, everything that you guys physically find, we'll mark.
Perfect. Well, that one will come back up next month, I assume, so.
Thank
Thanks for
you,
being
council.
here, appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you, we'll be in touch.
Yes.
All right, 15C, skid loader tread replacement. This is page 30. So you've got a quote from Houseby. So I do know we've had two opinions on these, and the treads on the skid loader are definitely worn, and they're probably due for replacement.
How old is a skid loader?
That's a good question. You guys remember when you bought it?
It's at least 3 years old. I was still on council at the time, so. Three or four.
3 or 4. It's been used quite a bit.
I do know running them on concrete's hard on tracks, and that's the majority of our use case, is running them cleaning streets and those types of things, so.
The way it was reported, this was when we were having to fix the ram that lifts the bucket up and down, was that we could go through this winter, but it might slide all over the place based on where it's at, and there are some noticeable tears that could break. So do we wait and try to do this next year, or do we just go ahead, get the treads replaced, then we have a marking point of this is when we replace them, now we know from there where, what wear and tear we're doing on the treads.
I was thinking, at least get them bought, so the price won't go up, even if we don't come on fall. We'll have them, because as it's going to fall, it could fall, well, they may run short of supply.
I think we ought to buy them and put them on.
Yeah, fall will be here before you realize it.
Yeah.
By the time we get it ordered, get them here, get them on, it'll be fall.
They say what kind of lead time would be.
I want to say it was about a month, so.
So we're looking at
Almost
mid to
the
late
same
August
as
already.
Yeah, that's true.
We just want to make the vehicle safe. We've already got the ram, the windows, everything else done on it, so I mean, why not? It's all right.
Oh, we don't wanna run into somebody.
Still beats buying a new one.
What do you need a motion?
Yep, I would need a motion to approve the quote from Houseby, the replacement of the skid loader tracks for a total of $7,511.76.
So moved.
Moved by Schantz,
Second.
second by Trum. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries. Alright, City Hall lease termination date. Hopefully you've all seen, we're getting close on the new space, super excited, that update will come later in the agenda. But with that, we are currently leasing this space. The building is under new ownership. We've not signed a lease with a new owner, so at this point we're soon to be under a month-to-month lease, as far as we're concerned. And so, I guess it's just a matter of when we think we can be out. Our current lease says 30 days notice. I would love to give as much notice as possible. So, City Hall update, well, have they mentioned an occupancy date?
They said we can move in right now, but we still do not have the vestibule does not have the glass that slides, that locks, and the door has not been replaced with a locking on the inside door. So that's where we're at right now.
You mean the vestibule door?
The vestibule door has,
That's
going
the
into
one
the
that
building
you
has
have-
a lock, the vestibule door does not, going into the office.
Will that have a lock on it or not?
It's supposed to have a lock on it, that is being, ordered.
So how secure is that building right now in its current state versus where we're at right now?
You can't get in it right now.
It's 100% secure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah,
I'd say the sooner the better to get in there. I mean, if those things can get put in while we're in the
Right.
process of occupying that space.
Yeah, with the front door locking, I mean, it is something that we could definitely.
Those are punch list items for sure.
Yeah, we can get those out. There is a further issue with, and I'll just bring this up because of what you're saying, that we do have to modify your council desk. So that would really, from what talking to Dalton today, that'd be the only hang up, is we've got to figure out what we're gonna do to modify it to fit the space.
So Chris and I were thinking, August 30th, well, September 1, we officially vacate. So it's about 45 days notice.
Yeah.
And he's comfortable that we'll be ready and be able to get everything moved over in that time frame.
Absolutely. The hardest part will be the IT, hooking everything up, so.
So can I get a motion to terminate the city hall lease effective August 31st, 2023?
So moved.
Moved by Myers. Second by Bozenberg. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries. All right, old business. 16A, digital sign policy. So, as Mr. Neighbor alluded, we did receive a letter from the Lions Club. I hear their concerns. I know one of their biggest concern right now, so according to the documentation, really the only promise not being met, because we are posting community events, any emergencies that may have come up, boil orders, those types of things are definitely being posted. We've yet to not post a community event. We're not charging for those. So it's really just their ability to maintain messages on the sign is the only piece of the marketing material and the grant application that is not currently being fulfilled. I do want to provide just a little bit of timeline because it was helpful for me to kind of understand how we got here. So in 2021, at the December council meeting, it is the first that we heard of the sign, so they had a Lions Club representative come to that meeting. But if you'll note on the Whitwer grant application, the timeline for that was November 1st through December 15th. So the city was not necessarily consulted on what was put in that grant. We didn't have any input or approval with that. So that was submitted before it was brought to the city's attention. At the January budget meeting, we did set aside $6,000 to help fund the sign. I am grateful for the success of their fundraising, that was not needed. But the city was invested and ready to support this sign. At the April city council meeting, this is where things change a little bit. We do have city action to approve purchasing and owning the sign in order to save nearly $1,000 on the sales tax. This also leaves us to assume any ongoing maintenance over the life of the sign as well, so we do have investment there. In December of this year, or December 2022, we did discuss a sign policy. So the sign got installed in October or November, I believe it was October. And so we put it on the agenda to discuss a sign policy. At that point, we had a public works director leaving, we were working on budget with the new clerk, and it was decided that we did not have time to work through that policy, and as such, in lieu of a policy, we limited it to nonprofit events only to be posted in the meantime. In April, the sign policy was brought back up, and we decided at that meeting that we would discuss it in August, just again, given the priorities. I am excited to say we've gotten 2 employees hired, the city hall project is nearly complete, so I feel we are in a place that we can look at this and definitely start making some decisions. I would like to consult all of the nonprofits that we have in the area, and I do have a list of those. Input on the policy, subject to legal review. My biggest concerns and what I want to make sure get addressed is that we're not violating any privacy, that our policy is free from bias and discrimination, so that we're treating everyone the same. If we do it for one, we have to do it for all, and so we need to bear that in mind as we're crafting this policy. So we will lean on legal support for that. So I'm going to read the list of organizations because I want you to let me know if I'm missing anyone, so that we can get a representative from each. We've got the Alburnett Community School District Foundation, Alburnett Youth Sports, that is actually a new nonprofit that was just established this year, the Alburnett Community Diamond Club, Alburnett Education Association, the Archery Club, Athletic Boosters, Historical Society, Firefighters Association, the Clinton Ice McClintock Foundation, the International Association of Lions Clubs, the Lions Club of Alburnett Foundation, there's actually two different, if I'm correct, there's two different, the Brotherhood of Steel, Christian Church, and the United Methodist Church. Anything anyone's involved in that I may have missed on that list? All right, and then what
The
I'm,
garden club,
what's that?
about the garden club that puts all the flowers around.
Registered nonprofit?
Probably not. I don't know what your organization is.
All right. What I'm asking council tonight is I would like one representative from council. I will moderate that committee. And so I'm looking for who from council would like to participate. To represent the city. Chester's in, all right. Any other questions or discussion on the digital sign?
The only thing that I have is, you know, the Lions Club ran that sign for 2 years without a problem. No, nothing. I really feel like that we ought to just turn it loose, let them do this. Why should the city be involved in this?
The new digital sign?
Yes.
It was installed in October of 2022, so it was a matter of months. My concern is because the city has taken action to own it, that we are liable for what's displayed on the sign. So if there is an issue with discrimination, bias, or privacy, that falls back on the city. I just want to keep us out of litigation, and that's why a policy is necessary. I'm not saying no, I'm saying that they can't maintain it, I'm saying not yet. But I think we need to iron out.
As far as liability, won't our insurance cover us for anything like that?
No, actually, insurance was the one that brought up that we would get in trouble.
Really?
If we get sued for a privacy violation, I mean, if they do cover us, then the rates go through the roof and or we're no longer insurable.
Right.
Any other?
You
questions,
don't own
discussion?
it.
We have action at our April meeting.
I don't care what your action says, you
Sir?
don't own it.
We have action.
You also got $3,000 from us to help maintain it.
We have action at our April meeting, a motion with approval that the city would purchase and own.
Well, then we want our
That's fine.
$16,000 back.
You can make that request, but right now,
How about we just
I'm
remove our sign?
in the middle of a business meeting right now.
Yeah.
You can make that request.
Well, that's what'll happen.
Any other questions?
That's stupid.
Chris and I will work on next steps for pulling the policy committee together. I have a list of things that are already for consideration. I'll send those to Chris, see if he has any others, and we'll start the conversation. All right. Next item is discuss bids received for road work. This is item, page number 31. Chris, I'm gonna let you speak to this.
That's fine. So last meeting, we talked about the different roads that we're gonna do. I did publish that we were looking for bids in 3 locations, plus in the paper so that people could bid on it besides, because we only had one at the time, which was Klisner. Dan Sherman did put in a bid, he's the only one that I received. Based off of the numbers, Klisner, when we totaled it up, just for the roads that are listed from 132nd down to 214 Donald, you are looking at a total of $37,758 if we were to do them all, which was what the recommendation was last time when we talked. Dan Sherman, though he did not individually go through each one, he did put down that, and you can see this in his bid, would be the $23,504 to be able to do all those roads. There are two roads that were added. That was the Howard Street and 3rd Avenue intersection. We did not have updated bids from Klisner regarding that road, nor did we have it for the Naylor and Drive and 1st Street intersection. Dan, based off of his quote, which is the street repair, 6-inch rebar concrete, which is at a rate of $11. I basically times that times the amount of space that needed to be filled and repaired, and that's how I came up with Howard Street would cost about $29,700. Naylor would be roughly about $50,050. We are not at any obligation to do either of those roads. We did talk about wanting to repair some of our roads, and you know, right now we're budgeted at $50,000. That's just a straight budget that we put with the option to transfer road use tax for $50,000 if we needed to come up with any additional money and we want to do more. This is not whether or not we do all of them. Some of them, it's, like I said, it's up to you. If you want, we can just tackle the ones that we've listed for now and then revisit the Howard and the Naylor, or we can go all in, or we can go partial way. What do you want to do?
So the estimate for Howard and Naylor, those are your guesstimates based on his previous?
When I asked him to put it together, because we did not have this footage, the square footage that needed to replace,
Yeah.
that's when he said the rate that he would respond to is 11 for anything that was over 500 square feet that he would replace. And we've worked with Dan before, we know he'll get the job done, so. But we do want to start either working on these roads now, or we're gonna lose our windows.
Light the fire.
Yeah.
I will say both of those intersections need to be replaced, but
They do.
those are big price tags.
They are, they do. And again, we do still have it in our budget to, even if we have to transfer a little bit over, we can. It's not the end of the world, and maybe we just tackle one, you know.
Which one's the worst?
Well, I was actually just gonna say, I think the Naylor in 1st is probably the worst,
Yeah.
but on that street report that we got from HR Green, I think that whole street needs to be replaced.
Right. And that's the other thing to think about, is if you are planning on replacing the entire street, don't do just the part.
Yeah, and I don't think Howard was bad.
It was, I think it was like a 3, something like that.
So I would recommend we revisit the street condition report
That's fine.
before we make a decision on intersections.
That's it. I'm good with that.
But then the patching was definitely part of the program to just maintain. Opinion of council?
I guess how soon would this start?
Um,
You ready to go
as
through with action today?
we're ready, as soon as if you guys want, as soon as I get the approval to do some of the roads, a couple of the roads. I said, when we talked last time, you said go ahead and do all of them.
Could we propose talking with Dan and say, you know, this total, there was 23.5, go with that, and we'll talk with you about the other one.
That's fine.
I mean, he'd give him a chance to get started.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I mean, he won't get it all done in 30 days, most likely, anyway.
No.
So you're saying to approve the quote from Dan Sherman for
23.540, and then we'll revisit the other two next month.
for the street repairs and
Yeah.
revisit the intersection
Make a
replacements.
decision next month on that.
Motion. Second. second by Shantz. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Discuss bid for park space around digital sign.
Let me get caught up here with showing, because this one actually does come with a picture.
Yep, page 34, your. So this is to grade out and landscape the green space. Now that we do have the driveway, where it's going to be, so we know where we can start working on the green space. So again, this is from Dan Sherman. I forgot to mention with these bids, Chris has implemented a new policy where all bids are posted in the paper, as well as 3 public places that the city is open for bid. Dan is the only, is that?
It's Dan, yeah, Dan is the only one.
Dan is the
It's-
only one we received for this
Right.
project.
With this project, it's the individual, Tim, that he hired, who's a horticulturalist. He would actually be doing the work for this park.
$1,900 for the installation of plant material, as well as the edging and the river rock around the benches.
And to give you an idea, so this would be the new holiday tree, so that we don't have to cut a tree down every year. And then this would be some extra tree space here. And you've got some shrubberies, an extra conifer there, and then he was gonna put a nice flower detail inside this area, so.
And the lion bench will go back up.
Yeah, the lion bench will go back up now that we've got City Hall and I don't have to worry about it getting hit and damaged. We are gonna glue it back down though, because again, as it stands right now, there's nothing holding it in place.
Any other questions on the project or the bid? And seek a motion to approve Dan Sherman's bid for $1,900 for the landscaping and grade work in the green space next to the new city hall.
So,
Moved by Myers, second by Bosenberg. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. 16D, discuss bids for park grading. So this is page 36. In this regard, park is the new space out by the fire station. Chris has been working with the park committee. I know we're still looking to get a grant for some of that work and some of the elements that we want to put out there. He's waiting on, one of the members is currently going to school for, I don't remember what the degree is, but he's going to be able to get us a visualization to submit along with those grant applications. So in the meantime, for this year, we would like to get the grade work done. It will also give it an opportunity to settle before we start putting the permanent elements out there, the structures and those things. So the other quote you have from Dan Sherman, again, he was the only one that quoted this project,
He's the only one that quoted.
is for $29,000. And that is to, again, grade out to specification, because we do have certain areas that we want topography to allow for, whether it be, it's not really a bandstand, but amphitheater.
Like a concert, like a small
Yes.
concert, like a,
Gazebo.
and then there'll be, yeah, and then there'll be another pavilion. That'll be for, more of a traditional pavilion with the restrooms and the concession, pickleball courts and the climbing rock.
So there are specifications he's working to. He's not just gonna go in and flatten the whole thing out.
Right.
So you have someone that will basically go out and you've got the elevations pretty well in mind where they're gonna need to be?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And he'll get the area for the parking lot. This includes that area for the parking lot. Mhm.
Do we have to get more dirt for that? 'Cause it goes-
We might not. We might be okay. We were able to collect a lot of dirt, and thanks to Dalton's efforts, we were able to get some. He spent a good 2 days moving dirt and piling it up, so I think we got a good chance of being okay with what we got.
Seek a motion on the bid from Dan Sherman for $29,000 for the park grade work.
I move we accept Dan Sherman's bid of $29,000 to do the landscaping on the park.
Motion by Trump,
Second.
second by Myers. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries. Resolution 2023-15. This is to change the speed limit on Willow Street to 15 miles per hour. I know this was discussed at the June meeting. I do apologize that I wasn't there, so I would appreciate any background you might have. I do have concerns. I think this is in response to some speeding and safety concerns on that particular street, especially during the school year, as the students exit the parking lot that direction. I just question whether a speed limit change, they don't abide by the one that's there. I question whether changing the speed limit will accomplish anything. I would also be curious, and I've talked to Chris about this, again, I don't think now's the best time since school's out, but we do have the digital sign where we can get data in order to make sure we're making accurate assessments and decisions. Right now, it's just kind of perception. I know you can tell if someone's speeding, but it'd be good to have that hard, fast data on what behaviors we actually see on that street. I just also am not convinced that changing it will impact their behavior.
We did figure out how to get it, the data, but you do have to do it, like, we'd have to set it for a month, then we'd have to take the computer to the speed sign, download the data, then go back. So like, we can't just put it in one place, put it in another place, because it basically, we would lose the data that I had before for what we were trying to obtain, what we're seeing.
Does it roll over every month, or how much data is stored?
Don't have the exact numbers on that yet. I was just happy that we figured out
How,
the first
yeah.
part.
I know it was.
Baby steps.
I actually think you ought to wait till school and even start gathering data.
Right.
That's my opinion.
Okay.
Wait till, I'd like to see the data gathered before we do anything. 15 miles an hour, nobody's gonna abide by it.
75% of the cars past my house are going over the speed limit. There's no way to enforce it. You know, we'd have to have
Yeah, even the speed limit changed unless the officer's sitting there.
it's a moot point.
Yeah, we can't issue citations based on speed
I
reads.
mean, I speed myself, I can't. I have to confess.
You're on camera.
Yeah.
Just drive away with this.
Yeah. Little blow dry.
Yeah.
Wes,
Do that for my voter.
What's that?
anything?
Just need a motion.
Nothing much more to add to it.
I do know, I believe a petition was, or something in the form of petition was presented at the June meeting, so I do respect the residents. I just would like to see if there's other solutions, because that just, we don't post a lot of speed limit signs in town because everything's 25, and so it's maintenance on signs, and if it's really not gonna be the effective change that we need, you know, can we partner more closely with the sheriff to make sure they're in the place of most potential as school lets out and those types of things, so.
I guess I'd look at tabling it till we get further information with the speed sign during school activities. And then revisit it after that, that's what I would go after.
Any motion to approve resolution 2023-15? Hearing none, we'll hold on to it, and we'll gather some more data, and also talk to the sheriff about patrolling in that area. 16F, review skid loader brush sweeper attachment quotes. So this is page 38, we're almost there, I promise.
And I apologize, we were hoping to get 2 more quotes before this meeting, we did not get those yet. So I'm gonna probably ask that there be no motion on this, just more of a discussion again, simply because of the fact that it was brought up during the car show. We had gone ahead and swept the streets prior, but we did not, during the car show, we're not able to do that because we couldn't call the individual back to sweep the streets. So, the other thought was if we were to maintain them more often, would there be less debris on the road like there is right now, where there's a lot of grass clippings from the rains and everything else like that, that can potentially clog gutters, or, you know, whatever, not gutters, but storm drains, or whatever. Is that something that would make the streets look nice? This particular attachment, Dalton had brought to my attention because he has used something similar before, and he said that that could be used on the skid loader, and that it can, basically as it's going down, it's got a curb brush, so it sweeps everything into the basin. You then take that basin, dump it into the back of, you know, the dump truck, and then you put it back down again and keep going on your merry way. It does have a water attachment to keep the dust down, so that's another nice thing. The main advantage would be that, one, it would allow us to maintain our own streets without having to rely on somebody else. So if we did need to have like a special, like benefits days, we could just go and, you know, clean up right away. Whereas right now, we'd have to call the street sweeper and see if he's available, or a street sweeper. And it would just, I mean, you know, just having it, like I said, on site would just give us that advantage. And then 2, just maintaining all the debris would help.
How much did it cost to have Cruiser come in?
Roughly about $1,000.
You know, we've tried this before.
I heard.
We've had this very similar situation. And you can't hold enough water, and it won't hold enough debris. So we got rid of it
Right, and that may have been the actual one you bought.
and got a regular street sweeper.
Mm,
The maintenance on that thing was eating us alive.
yes,
It was cheaper to hire a Cruiser to do it
yeah,
than it was to go this route or own our own street sweeper.
I gave Chris that information. I did recommend if we could get a hold of Star Equipment or whoever else we get a quote from to see if we can take it out for a test drive. To see how, because I think we also had one that didn't do anything. It wasn't super effective.
Right.
It was, it just filled up right away.
and one of the ones, to your point, one of the ones that we were looking at, you know, it only held 25 gallons, but it, you know, did 25 gallons per minute or something like that. Well, if you think about it, then basically you're just doing a squirt and then you're done. So, you know, yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, the right equipment, you definitely need to make sure if you're purchasing something like this, it is the right equipment.
What this mainly is a parking lot cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
It's not made to go out to streets with.
Yeah.
So,
My other concern with the skid loader we have, as we mentioned with purchasing the tracks, they're not really meant for running on concrete, so the more
Right.
we use it,
the more we didn't have to replace
It's
it.
a real man, you really take a lot of time to use this.
So then the question that I would like to bring is, can we get Kleesner out more often and get him on a schedule to sweep the streets?
I'm sure he would cooperate with us. It's worth a shot, worth a trying.
What, in your opinion, would be the most we should have him out here?
Well, the spring and the fall for sure.
that's what we do now. So I know we clean up, in the spring we clean up the sand, in the fall we clean up the leaves.
And maybe once more in the summertime sometime.
Just add one more rotation?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, sounds good.
Again, I'm totally up for a test drive this month. I'd be curious to see how well it works. Any other discussion on the brush sweep, the skid loader brush sweeper?
You said he's $1,000 per pass?
Yeah, roughly about 1,000.
I would completely. After 10 passes, we've got what we need in terms of paying someone else. Especially if we can get a bid that's a little lower. But again, that's something that I'm gonna leave to what they put out to us.
Yeah.
The type of machinery we have, but you know, we could do more than just 3 passes a year if we have our own.
We were talking about once a month.
And I think that wouldn't be bad. I mean,
We do have the man hours that go
You're
with
gonna
it
have a lot of man hours to go with that.
and the maintenance, but
Blankets and fuel,
you're not entirely wrong though. I mean,
and those brushes aren't cheap.
Like I said,
I still say we see if we can get a test drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to see how well it works too. I know you said you've used one, so I don't doubt you, but
Is this a particular one you use?
No, the one I used did not have a curb brush. So the real problem with that was is you'd go through and then you'd have to go back through and sweep all the curbs out and do it again. And like I told Chris, I've never used it in a city this big. It's always been mobile home communities, so.
but it's the idea that he's used one. Just saying.
yes. Alright. Last item under old business is the new City Hall remodel update, which I think we got a snippet of. I will say the one big outstanding item still does not prevent us from moving in, but we did discover that the door from the vestibule into the new City Hall space does not have a locking mechanism. The intention, but the door from the exterior in does. The intention is to leave that open as a 24-hour. We'll move the water box in there, have some other amenities available in that 24-hour space, much like the post office. So we need that to lock. So we took that back to, we did check the specs and it was installed the way it was spec'd. So that got missed by our engineer. I'm following up with them to, it is an easy swap out. So essentially they put a dummy bar on, we need one that locks. But I don't feel like that's ours to pay for, so I'm following up with them. That is one of our primary requirements from the beginning, that vestibule will be accessible 24 hours a day. So we're still following up on that. I will get a response from him. So it won't prevent us from moving in, we just won't be able to use that lobby space right away. We would have to make sure that exterior door remains locked until we can get that fixed. And then similarly with the sliding glass, I know that's on order, so that will be here shortly. Essentially, there's just no glass right there now, so it still serves a purpose, especially if we leave that exterior door locked for now. But otherwise, the kitchenette is put together, which is why we're missing certain cabinetry here. We were able to reuse.
We're missing a sink in the kitchenette,
Okay, yeah.
so we'll have to get a sink.
But I'm excited we could reuse all the cabinets, except we ordered the one, we needed a sink base, because we had 2 drawer bases over here. So we had to purchase a sink base, but the cabinets and the countertop fit, and then the wall cabinets above were all reused from this space, which is good. The bathroom is in, so we've got our essentials.
It did come with a baby changing station, so. Came with a baby changing station, I know you wanna hear that.
So as Chris mentioned, the council desk is a little too wide, so we're looking at ways we can modify so we can get it to fit in that space. Part of that means it will be helpful to just have it over there so we can move it around and see where we need to cut.
How much too wide is it?
2 feet. We think if we just increase this angle and cut down the front, we should be able to swing it in and tuck it in.
stack it like Hollywood squares. There you go.
Right.
I would like to, I just throw this out and I'm thinking, with that entryway, I'm wondering if we shouldn't look into getting a rug company to put rugs in.
Absolutely. We actually took the rugs from here over there because I already noticed that coming in from the maintenance bay, or what you want to call it, that second area, in through that door, it was already starting to get dirt collecting because we didn't have a rug there. So yes, absolutely, we need to get some rugs in. I also do have makeup blinds coming in to be able to get some blinds up. The windows are great. I love them. They're really nice and airy, but when I was looking and sitting and thinking about, okay, if I'm sitting here working at the desk and the sun is coming up like this, I'm not gonna be able to see anything for 3 days. So, you know, just having that, kind of some blinds in there that if we need to kind of shut it off, we can.
To his point, a rug company will actually like take them out and clean them.
Yeah,
I
Even
think,
that's what
Oh,
I'm saying.
yeah,
They
we
come
can do
in-
that.
yeah.
I think
They come and
Cintas does
replace
that,
it.
so we
Cintas
can
does
check
that.
with our Cintas rep.
Yeah.
And then security cameras will be the other thing that.
And I've already got Hawkeye on that.
So, very exciting possession coming soon.
Yeah, we did it.
Yep, all the boxes are gone. It looks great in here now, so that's.
It's all,
Still gonna cover our brick window?
So that is, we will come up with a solution. It's cosmetic, so we weren't gonna do it right away, essentially. We probably will just order some kind of vinyl blind, or vinyl shutter. And it'll look like it's closed and
It's pink.
could. I don't know how that will look, but
yeah, there was a
that
discussion,
is on us to fix.
there was a discussion about a mural, and I'm like, okay, all right.
Brick.
That's purely cosmetic, so we can address that at any time. So. They did move the LP tank around back and they put in pylons so that it's nice and safe for anyone taking the corner to park around back. That's good, very, very good stuff there. Any questions on City Hall update?
The grading's all done now.
It is,
They get rid of that asphalt back there,
yes.
pad. That's gone.
Mhm.
Good, good.
And the tower is yet to come down, that's coming down, correct?
The radio tower?
Mm-hmm.
No.
No, that's today? Okay.
Have you seen that picture, that view? City Hall and this big tower? And we're actually thinking of maybe possibly putting a repeater on it so that I can reach it no matter where it goes.
I thought I heard that we were taking it down, so
No.
my apologies. Okay, any other questions? I would like to thank you for managing that project, because it's gone relatively smoothly. We've done it with one change order, which we anticipated, because it was with the Orangeburg, so it was very well managed. Greg has been an amazing partner,
Yes.
so I appreciate you two working together on the regular to make sure we kept moving. Okay, with that, final comments and discussion. I will start with Councilor Trump. Councilor Rosenberg. One thing I did fail to mention, happy new fiscal year. So as of July 1, we are in our new budget. Chris has been working to close last year's budget, so it's all good. We're almost through a whole cycle. Councilor Schatz. Councilor West.
No.
Councilor Myers. Chris.
Nope.
All right. With that, I'd seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by West,
Second.
second by Trum. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are adjourned.